Welcome to the Land Your Bet Sports Betting Show. Back after a week, went a little 2-0 in the WNBA last Friday, and then COVID waxed me. So I've been out for the past week or so, but we are back in action. We got 4 games in the WNBA on Sunday, continuing to move along, looking at a really good record so far, more than 10 units up on the early season here in the W. Go through that record with you in just a sec. Also, a quick reminder that we still have the outlier.bet available here for you. A nice little free day trial, 7-day trial, I should say, for free. If you don't yet have outlier.bet, definitely want to jump in there, check it out. This has everything you need, a one-stop shop for betting on the WNBA and MLB and a few other sports as well, which we have all going in the Discord. More on that in a minute, but let's get right into what you need to know and some bets here for the WNBA on Sunday. Quick look at that record. Like I mentioned, 10.74 units to be exact. That's what we're up on the season in the WNBA. Getting carried a bit here by the sides and totals, up 9.58 on those. Haven't hit a parlay yet. That's the real reason that we're not even a little bit more up on the season so far, but a really still nice record with the player props. I've got a couple of bets here, and we'll get a few more out there in the Discord as well. So make sure you jump in there. For now, let's get right into what we need to know for Sunday. First game on the slate for Sunday, a rematch of an upset where the Dream actually beat the Sun outright in Connecticut about a week ago now. Picked that game correctly, as the Sun were coming off of a back-to-back on a tough road game that they actually ended up winning in overtime against Washington. Then they came back last week and played on no rest against this Dream squad, who's even more injured now than they were last week. You see Ryan-Howard and Jordan Canada and now Aerial Powers all out for the Dream in this one. Tyasha Harris is questionable for the Sun. If she's not able to play, Veronica Burton has come in and done a really good job, really good catch and shoot player as well, who should be getting about 25 to 30 minutes without Ty Harris. If Ty Harris is in, probably not quite as good of a bet, but if you do see Ty Harris out officially, I'm going to be rolling with Veronica Burton to get over about 7.5, 8.5 points, depending on where her stuff opens. We don't yet have lines for her. That's how I would keep this stuff in mind here in terms of who's going to be questionable for the Sun on Sunday. Now, since the Sun did lose to Atlanta last week, they have a couple of nice wins on the road against Phoenix and against Minnesota that they pulled out those dubs there. Now they're coming back home again, taking on this Atlanta Dream once more, and it's going to be a lot of the same sort of slower, choppier play. We're talking about two of the slowest teams with the pace in the league here. And Connecticut, very good offensively, I should say efficient offensively, and then defensively as well. One of the best teams, as we know, one of the top 2 defense in the league all season. For the Dream, it's tough to really pinpoint how good all of their sort of rankings are right now when you consider the fact that they're playing without so many key players, Canada and Howard especially, as well as now Powers down for them. So it's going to be tough to really gauge that, like all this stuff here where they're 8th in rebounding, 11th in effective field goal percentage. That's been because they've been pretty injured this season. I would expect that to be the case once more against the Sun on Sunday. Looking at the Dream on offense, really only one thing that they seem to do pretty well, and that is get to the free throw line. We've seen Alicia Gray be really key for them on that, attacking the rim as really the main person driving. Tina Charles doing pretty well in that sense too, but really no other ways that they're getting easy buckets. They're 3rd worst in terms of scoring in the paint, 3rd worst in fast break points. They really not better than roughly like 7th or 8th in pretty much any offensive category at this point. Really, like I said, it's going to be key for them to be getting to the free throw line. Luckily, Connecticut not as good at limiting free throw attempts. With them on the back-to-back last time that they played a week ago, it was a little bit easier to feel like this Dream team was going to have a little bit more stamina, a little bit more energy to be able to come in and really bring it to the Sun, which is what we saw. With equal rest between the two, doesn't feel like there's really any advantages for this Dream squad on offense. For the Sun, really efficient in a lot of different areas that are pretty key here on offense for them. 2nd in points off of turnovers, 2nd chance points as well, and then 4th in terms of points in the paint, and 1st in terms of their free throw rate. Now, the Dream defense is the strength of its team, so they're going to be in the top half of the league in some pretty key categories on defense. Ryan-Howard still being out is huge. So is Jordan Canada, and now Aerial Powers as well. Their defense is going to take a pretty big hit. So I would say even these rankings that you're seeing that are pretty good at limiting what the Sun want to do, they're probably not even going to have their full powers, and pun intended, they're not going to be at full strength enough to be able to really rely on the defense that's carried them to even the abysmal record that they have at this point. So it's looking like the Sun probably a better play here. I don't yet have a bet for this game. I would check back in the Discord, as I mentioned as well, free for those of you who want to jump in there now. No cost to get in the Discord, where we've got a really good channel going, looking at player props and some sides and totals. I think 12 or 11 points is too many for a Sun squad that doesn't really blow teams out because they play so slowly, and their offense is not the strength of their team. So it takes a little bit more for them to blow teams out than they're used to be honest. So I don't really feel good about taking the Sun, even though I do feel strongly about them winning. Reminder that I did say if Ty Harris is out, I like Veronica Burton to get her points, which should be around 7 or 8 in this one. Quick reminder about that Discord. If you do want to jump in, link is in the description. It is free right now. Don't plan on making that, putting that behind a paywall anytime soon. So definitely want to jump in there. Got a lot of good conversation from a lot of really good WNBA bettors. Also got MLB going, and put up the tennis channel as we get into the summer. So definitely going to be following along with some pretty smart people who are throwing bets in the Discord right now. Next game up, we've got the struggling Dallas Wings in Vegas, taking on the Aces here. Same 3 key players that are out for Dallas that have been out. We've got Jaylen Brown out for the season, Maddie Siegrist and Seitu Sabali both out as well, probably for another at least few to 3 weeks for both of those players as well. The Aces finally back and healthy. It's why we've seen them rattling off so many wins before they lost to the Sparks the other night. Kind of a bad loss for them, but the Sparks are a team that have actually given them trouble in the past. Other than that, they've won 7 of their last 8 prior to that, and 6 in a row prior to that. So the Aces seem to be back, the defending champs, making their run now with Chelsea Gray back and everybody fully healthy for this squad. How they match up, Aces looking a lot better. Second best offensive rating, 7th in defensive rating, but they've definitely relied on that offense, pace of play, and a ton of threes raining down, with A'ja Wilson doing A'ja Wilson stuff as well during this recent win streak for the Aces. So you can continue to feel pretty good about them, I think, staying hot. The pace is going to stay high. The shooting is going to stay pretty effective as well, as you see the second best effective field goal percentage. And for Dallas, who has just been sliding for the majority of the season, they do have Natasha Howard back. They are going to be healthier than they've been anyway. You saw the previous screen with a bunch of key injuries for them, but they are looking a little bit better with their health back intact. Really good rebounding team, pretty good down low. That's going to have to be where they definitely sort of try to focus here, is keeping the Aces off the 3-point line, but it's not something that we've seen them do super well. Let's take a look at the Dallas offense. Here you can see what they want to do. Second chance points, paint points, everything down low. Not a good 3-point shooting team. They have been pretty good at getting points off of turnovers and going and running, but this Aces squad takes care of the ball. Do not give up easy buckets in transition. This is a big reason why we've seen them actually make this run that we've seen over the course of the last 2 or 3 weeks for Vegas, since they really got their groove back. They do limit second chance points about middle of the pack. So if Dallas is going to have one area that they're able to really get theirs, it's on the offensive side of the offensive rebounding side of things, which the Aces have gotten a lot better, though, in the last couple week or so specifically. Does seem like this team is coming back around to being a little bit more dominant down low. Second in terms of limiting paint points. This is where Dallas needs to score from. So does seem like they're going to continue to struggle. That's why this spread is up at 14.5 points. And as far as what Vegas wants to do on offense, like I said, threes, 3rd in attempts and 4th in makes. 4th in free throw rate as well. They have been very good down low, especially a lot more so in the last week, like I mentioned. Fast break points, they still want to get out. 5th most in fast break, but the Wings are not good at limiting those transition buckets. 2nd most that they allow on the season. Pretty good around the 3-point line. Not as good down low. I think A'ja Wilson's probably in line for a big day. I don't like 14.5 points for this Aces squad. It is a lot of points, but I think that we're going to be seeing points here. So I am going to be going with a bet on the over at 171.5. It's quickly rising. I got that into the Discord. Once you get up to about 174.5, I think you're probably getting to a little bit too high of a number there for me to go over. But if you can still get around 171 to 172.5, that's a good over for me in this one. Maybe a little A'ja Wilson with a player performance double, maybe her to get about 25 plus the win. Seeing how we can play with that. That'll be in the Discord here, but these are the key stats, at least for this matchup. And I've got 2 bets from the other 2 games here on Sunday. Next game up, we got the Sky. They are still missing Elizabeth Williams, who's out for the season. Huge blow for them, as we know. Seattle continues to stay atop the league, in part because they've been healthy all season, and they continue to be that here. This no real injuries to speak of in this game. If you look at them head-to-head here, Storm, much better squad. That's obvious. But the Sky have been covering and keeping things close over the last like 9 to 10 games or so. For the Storm, 5th best offensive rating, but everything is defense for them, right? And similar for Chicago, not as adept on offense, but have been pretty good on defense, especially over the last week, actually about the 3rd best defensive rating in that time frame as well. For the Storm, though, 3rd best defensive rating on the season. That's been their calling card for the most part, really hawking the 3-point line and keeping other teams off of it. 2nd in pace, they do want to get it and go, and a very good rebounding team as well. So neither of these teams shoot the ball from deep very well at all, especially because Jewel Lloyd's having a pretty down season shooting wise for this Seattle Storm squad. So we'll see if there's able to get as many points, but let's look at what the offensive matchups look like for both sides. Should mention as well, the Sky just won this game. They played a couple nights ago on Friday, 88-84 for Chicago, and that's as close as it seems like it should have been. Honestly, it was about a 4 to 5, 6-point game at the most. So we've still got a pretty big spread here of 9.5 points for the Sky to be able to cover that. 4th in terms, if you look at their offense here, 4th in terms of points off a turnover and second chance points, 2nd on the fast break, and the most paint points in the league, especially once Cardoso came back. And you've got Angel Reese doing her thing down low, as we know. Really nice game against Seattle, dominated them in the last one, 27 for her. Kennedy Carter also actually ended up with 33. Both those players really attacking the rim, which is where you can get points against the Seattle Storm squad. 2nd worst paint defense in the league, and then middle of the pack, as good of a defense as they are in terms of creating turnovers and putting pressure all over the floor on the other team. Not as good as at least the Sky are on offense in these key categories here to be able to limit Chicago and what they want to do. That's a huge reason for why they just lost this last game. You saw the Storm only make 3 threes in that game, but still, the Sky only had 4 more paint points and like 6 more total points from 3 in that game, only won by 4. So it's still a very close matchup here, probably a lot closer than 9.5, but the Sky should have a decent time scoring in this one. On the other side of the ball, however, Seattle will also be fairly unstoppable. I would say they had a pretty bad game in their loss to the Sky here a couple nights ago. Now we're talking about them coming back, probably being able to score a few more than the 84 that they had in this last game. So 3rd in points off of turnovers and second chance points, 4th in fast break, and 2nd paint points. Both these teams very good in very similar ways on offense, and not very good on defense. In fact, the Storm much better on defense at limiting what the Sky want to do. You can see here, the Sky not very good at limiting second chance points or points in the paint. So if Seattle does get those points down low and continues to sort of dominate the paint, the boards in general, they should be able to get theirs against Chicago. But like I said, Chicago should be able to get theirs against the Storm's defense once more. So I'm going to go basically predict that we're going to see a similar game to last one. I don't know if the Sky are going to pull this one out the way they did the other game, but I've got 2 bets from this one. We've got them covering 9.5 points against Seattle on the road, and this game going over 164.5 points. I really like the total over bet here, but I've got a full unit on both of them separately. As I mentioned, Sky just won this game. I don't think that there's going to be a 14-point difference from this game from what we saw last game. I think it's going to be somewhere in between the Sky winning by 4 and them losing by about 5 or 5 or 6 points at the most. So I still think you're getting great value for them to cover. And then as far as the total goes, both these teams are not good at stopping what the other one wants to do on offense, which is why I think you're going to see big advantages on both sides of the ball on offense for both of these teams. That should be where we see them, both these teams being able to get buckets. Like I said, Chicago's ability to score in the paint is going to be a huge edge, but their inability to stop what this Seattle team wants to do down low as well, and the way that they move the ball to get easy buckets. I think we're going to see a lot of points from both sides, but I do think it's going to be closer than 10. Last game on the slate, got a bet for this one as well, and it's something we just saw when these two teams played not that long ago. We know Lexi Brown is still out for LA, and Cameron Brink is out now for the season as well for this Sparks squad. For the Mercury, finally healthy. Brittany Griner back. She's been back for about 10 games now, 6-4 for them in that time frame. We've definitely seen a bit of an uptick in their play. They're now 6.5-point favorites after they won this exact matchup by about 14 points a week ago. Let's take a little bit of a look at the matchup though. Neither team super impressive in very many of these sort of season-long categories. Offensive rating much better for Phoenix, and it's gone up in the last couple weeks as Griner has come back and really gotten in the groove of things. On defense, both in the bottom 4 or 5 in the league right now, and that LA offense going to continue to struggle. They've got some pretty key players down, as you saw as well, which is a big reason. Dearica Hamby doing a lot of the work there on offense for them. The pace remains slow for LA, not great guard play. For Phoenix, they do get up and run, though. They want to keep getting those fast break points. They're not actually very good at rebounding either, which is something we should hone in on for a minute. The edge does does go to the Sparks here for the rebounding, and that is actually something that they relied upon in their victory that was really nice against Vegas. I do think that was a bit of an anomaly. Neither team very good shooting the ball, middle of the pack in terms of the effective field goal percentage, and Phoenix will probably continue to be a little bit better in that sense as they get a few more easy buckets, although they are still relying on the three-point shot a ton. Speaking of which, you can see here, second in three-point attempts for Phoenix on offense, and the fifth there in terms of three-pointers made. So they probably should be hitting a higher percentage than they are. Not very good, as you can see, second in attempts, but only fifth in makes. The paint points and points off a turnover stats you see here, fifth in paint points, third in terms of points off a turnover. These have been since Brittany Griner came back, and there's a clear correlation between her getting a few more points down low where she does all her damage, as well as the points off a turnover, because you see Phoenix able to play a little bit more straight up on defense, not have to sell out down low, and can actually get out on the three-point line a lot more. They've started limiting three-point shots a lot better, pressing things up on the perimeter and getting those turnovers, which they've turned into fast break points, I should say. For the LA defense, not good limiting threes, not good in the paint, and they turned the ball over the second most in the league. So that's why you can see, once again, only a 6.5 point spread for Phoenix. Probably should be a little bit bigger. I think we're getting a little bit of value if you want to bet on Phoenix because of the fact that they're on the road. They've been bad on the road, but the individual matchups on the floor do scream the Mercury have a pretty sizable advantage here. As far as the Sparks offense, not that much to be impressed with. The free throw rate, that's the only thing that they have to rely on, is getting to the free throw line, something they did very well against the Aces there in that nice win that they just pulled off. Phoenix, okay, not that great in limiting free throws and offensive rebounds, so second chance points could be there. Dearica Hamby could be a problem for them, but once again, Brittany Griner being back has been huge and will probably continue to be so in terms of limiting what the other team wants to do down low. They should be a little bit better at limiting free throws, considering they actually have a down low presence on defense. And so you can probably guess what my bet is for this game. I am going to take Phoenix to cover this spread here on the road. As I mentioned, I think that we are getting a bit of value because of a couple things. One, they've been bad on the road, but they were playing on the road a lot when Griner was out for that roughly like 10-game stretch to start this season. Since she's come back, they played a few more games at home, but they've also had an above 500 record on the road since she's been back. So that's a huge reason for why I still think that we're getting value. It's a little bit, I think, overemphasized how bad Phoenix was on the road and how much the Sparks, you know, have been playing a little bit better because they did beat that Vegas squad. But before that, had rattled off like 7 losses in a row. They continue to struggle because of the injuries. I think with a fully healthy Phoenix squad on the road, still getting that value, we're going to take them to be able to win this one by at least 7. And that is all the time that I have for you in this one. Definitely want to jump into that Discord. If you have not yet, that's where you'll be able to get all these picks updated as soon as I get a little bit more of a feel for these player props. Got a couple sides and bets and totals in here for you, though. But also, one more reminder about Outlier.bet. Make sure you do jump into the description of the video. That's where all the helpful links are, including the tools that I'm using to get all this WNBA information that I'm bringing to you guys. So make sure you check that out. I'll be back on Monday night with a Tuesday slate video, as there's one game on Tuesday, no games on Monday. So until I see you then, happy betting.